I hear the doorknob turning. I literally, dude, I literally go in the closet and I hide. I literally hide in there for 45 minutes. What's up, people? My name is Kevin. I am going to be 50 in July. I'm an old bastard. And I was part of Quixtar from late 2002 until the middle of 2004, which is Amway.
So take us all the way back. What year was it that this happened, and how were you recruited? Give us the fairy tale story of you joining Amway.
Okay, so Marco, you talk about this a lot in your channel, and it's true. Where a lot of people join these things when they're at their lowest. They're at their lowest point of life. I got to go back before I joined Quixtar, and I don't want to get into a big convoluted story. Let me just say this: I had a really good job when I was in my late teens, early 20s. I made a lot of money. This doesn't sound like a glamorous job. I was a salesman for an oxygen company. Doesn't sound glamorous. I made $6 an hour. That's nothing. However, I got 10% commission on the net sales of everything I sold. And we sold a lot of different things. We sold medical oxygen, commercial oxygen, CO2, nitrous oxide, argon, starch, a lot of welding, gases, all this stuff. We sold a lot of stuff. But to keep it short and simple, the most basic thing we sold was a 244 cubic foot oxygen cylinder. We paid $2.06 for that. We sold them for $20. So every one that I sold, I got $1.79. That's just a basic thing. So if I sold 10, I got $17.90 in my paycheck a week. If I sold 100 in a week, I got $179. That adds up after a while. So what I started doing, and this is before the internet, I had to go into the yellow pages. What I did was I called all my competitors in the area, acting like a customer, asking what they cost for this stuff. I got other price lists. I had my price list. I would go within a 200-mile radius, 50 miles east, west, north, south. And I would go to all these places and I would just leave my business card and say, hey, here's my business card. Give me a call. I don't know who your supplier is. This is my price list. If you're interested, let me know. So I would get some calls back, especially because the product sold itself. It was easy because we were cheaper than anybody by a lot. But what I found out where the gold mine was nursing homes. And nursing homes would take anywhere from 50 of these to 150 a week. At my peak, at 4 nursing homes. So if I'm selling 400 cylinders to nursing homes a week, you're talking $720 alone with just those. This doesn't include your dentists and your welding shops and everybody else that needed this stuff. So in my days, in the late 90s, when I was a kid, I was making upwards of $80,000 to $90,000 a year in my best days, which buying power now is equivalent to about $160,000 a year. Now, when you're 19 and 20 years old, you're not thinking about the future. I earned my nickname Baddog for a reason. I partied hard. I didn't save no money because I'm thinking the gravy train is going to go all over the place. And I always say 49-year-old me would beat the hell out of 19-year-old me. I didn't know any better. I didn't save a lot of stuff. The best things I did, I partied a lot. I went out almost every freaking night. I took a lot of vacations. I had nothing to show for it. There's a couple of things I bought. I should have worn my Rolex. I bought a Rolex in 1998. I still have it. It's 27 years old. It keeps great time still. I bought some Armani suits and I bought a Mercedes Benz, right? I don't have the Benz anymore, but I bought a house. That was the best thing that I did. I lived in a duplex. I bought the house from the owner. Best thing I did. So in this time frame, I'm pretty much living the life that these people show you that they're living, okay? But there was no internet to flex on in 1996. This was back in the days of you've got mail, right? So nobody knew any of this stuff. It was just a kid having fun, being stupid. One day, the owner gets sick. His daughter forges his signature on a power of attorney. She sells the company out from underneath us for 40 grand. 40 grand. Now, Marco, there's $3 million worth of steel in this company. She had no idea, just wanted quick money. I was in 2 days at the end of 1999. It was a Tuesday, said, you're done Thursday. The company they sold to, they didn't need a salesman. They had the customer list. They had the sales. I was expendable. I was gone. That was the end of me. I went from making, like I said, 80 to 90,000 a year to just under 30,000 a year. And that's a slap in the face. So instead of going out every night and partying and doing all this stuff, I ended up pretty much going to rockin' bowls on Saturday. That's what I ended up doing, which was $10 for 3 hours of bowling and $3 pitchers of beer. I walk in one night, I see this girl. I'll never forget, looked right at her eyes, told my buddy, that's going to be my wife. And 25 years later, this is my wife. Okay. it moved pretty quick. She moved in with me at the end of 2000. And I can remember at this point where she's a college student. We're scraping by, like we're struggling. She's working at a shoe department trying to get extra money. She's got college loans, books. I have to take out a second mortgage on the house because the roof's bad. We're scraping by, NIMO, cable, all this stuff, food. We're barely making ends meet. We started to go into debt. And I remember one night laying on my couch, just thinking to myself, I wish I could get my old life back. I wish I would have saved money. I wish, because I want good things with this woman. When I was single, I didn't care. I wasn't thinking about settling down. I was a kid. At this point, I'm 27 years old. Like 2 days after this, my buddy, who I hadn't seen in like a year, comes in the house. He's driving an Escalade. I remember he's dressed in a really nice, it wasn't so much a suit, it was like slacks and a button down. And he's asking me what's going on, how you doing? I said, I'm good, good, living life, whatever. He wasn't pushy with this. He never pushed me. He just said, hey, I'm doing this thing called Quixtar. And he showed me the plan. And I just ate it up. I didn't ask questions. I just thought to myself, oh, it's a sign from the gods above, Marco. I literally am thinking I just want a great life 2 days earlier, and here he is. This has to be, and I can sell anything to anybody. So it's a Tuesday. They have these meetings every Tuesday night, and Marriott, Holiday Inn, whatever it was. I don't remember the hotel. Every Tuesday night was $10. So I sign up for the thing. I go. He's like, we got a meeting tonight at this place. He's like, I want you. This was weird. I remember him saying, I want you to wear your Rolex. And I want you to wear an Armani suit. You should dress nice going to this. I don't know why he's asking me to do this. Well, okay, whatever. I go in. There's a woman at the table. She takes the $10. She's very nice. I walk in to this room. And when you talked about the kids, like playing businessman, putting their father's suit on, two things I'll never forget about this. He would introduce me to people in the room. And they weren't like at a gathering. There'd be one in this corner, one in that corner, one over here, one back there. They weren't near each other. Literally, Marco, had to be about a dozen people. Said the same thing to me. Said the same exact, oh, best decision you ever made. We're going to make a lot of money together. Oh, this is the best decision you made. You're going to make a lot of money. We're going to be rich. They all said the same thing. And every one of them looked like they bought a suit off the clearance rack. They were short. They were too big. They didn't fit right. Mine was tailored. I'm like, I just thought that was strange. I didn't think anything of it. I sit through the presentation. They show you all the things. The speaker's up there talking about how he makes 6 figures a year. And he says, how many of you are going to make a 10% raise next year? And he would always raise his hand because I saw this guy do a lot of stuff. They would do the celebration thing, Marco, Oh, he reached 1,000 PV. He reached 4,000 PV. Oh, he just hit Ruby. Oh, he just hit Emerald. I remember all of this stuff. And again, I'm not thinking much of it because, it is what it is. So I pay the $139. I get some tapes. I get excess energy drink, and I get vitamins, and I get some other crap. And that was my foray into Quixtar. So it was very interesting inauguration, if you will.
So this friend of yours, maybe I missed this detail, but this friend of yours who got you in, you just knew him from before. He wasn't like he wasn't like cold prospecting you.
No, we used to play basketball all the time. And I just hadn't seen him for a while. And he, like I said, it probably was a year, 8, whatever it was, a year, 10 months, something like that. And he came back. The one thing I'll give Amway this. The energy drink actually was good. The excess energy drink was actually, the rest of their products were garbage, overpriced garbage. Their energy drinks were sugar-free, and they were actually priced competitively. So the only thing I ever really did successfully in that was I would buy cases of it, and I actually had customers I sold the stuff to. I made like $7 a case, so I wasn't making a lot. But that was the only thing I ever really succeeded in when it came to anything with Quixtar.
Okay, makes sense. So you were in the company total 18 months, right?
About 18 months.
Okay, so talk to me about like what the trajectory of like you starting out thinking, oh, I'm going to be rich. This is a sign from the gods. And you're meeting all these people with their like either too big or too small suits, like, but talk to me about like when they started pushing, like, you got to recruit more people to, what was that like?
That was almost immediate, where they're like, if you want to make money, you got to start recruiting people. You're not going to get rich selling cases of energy drinks or vitamins. They couldn't sell the vitamins anyway. They were everything was overpriced. And I was buying the stuff. This is how I lost money because I was buying the shitty the dish detergent and the laundry detergent, which was terrible. I was just buying the products because you got to buy from yourself. Why are you going to buy from a competitor? Would you buy? Why would you buy from a competitor? So they pretty much did push that immediately. And I'll be honest, when I would try to talk to people about this, of course, they gave you the list, talk to your friends and family first, and, go to the coffee shops and go here and, hey, start up a conversation about stuff. You seem like a bright person. I have a really good business opportunity. I couldn't move this thing at all. I can't tell you how many people said to me, that sounds like Amway. It was called Quixtar, but it was Amway. But Marco, I didn't know anything about multi-level marketing. My mother, I do believe, was in Tupperware in the late 70s. I didn't know that was multi-level marketing. I didn't know Mary Kay was multi-level marketing. I had no clue. I heard of Amway, but I didn't know what it was. And when I got into this in 2002, like I said, the internet was a lot different. There was no MySpace, there was no Facebook, there was no YouTube, there was no X, there was no social media. So the only thing you could really see is if you research stuff, and they told you not to research stuff, you really couldn't find anything negative about the company. It was almost impossible. People didn't want to do it. And it didn't matter what I said. He would even go with me and present the plan because he was an expert. He'd done it for a long time, or however long he was in before. I forgot how long he said he was doing it. But they are like, well, if you want to make money, you have to do this, and you're not pulling numbers. And I'm like, okay. Then they started pushing. You have to go to more of these function things, which were expensive. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. The one thing I'm going to say, when I met these people, when you talk about the target demographic, it was all there. I was 27, so I was young but not naive. I lived through my naivety already when I blew through all my money, being a stupid early teen, early 20, late teen guy. It was all 19, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old. My friend was only 21, and a lot of minorities. It's really what it was. And again, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything of that at all. But that wasn't it. There was very few guys that were almost 30 that were, I wasn't married at the time. I was engaged, but it just didn't exist. And I didn't think much of it at all. But people kept saying it's Amway. It's Amway. I'm like, I don't know what the hell Amway was. So I was completely naive when it came to that. I had no idea what I had gotten myself into there.
So did you feel any type of weird way about recruiting other people into it? Like, did it ever cross your mind, like, why would I recruit someone who's going to become my competitor? Or did you just sort of go along, like, you just sort of went along with them telling you that this is how you're going to make more money?
I just went along with it. Again, I really didn't think of it, but I was always uncomfortable. Because right from the get-go, I felt like there was something off just from my first interaction with these people. I felt like something was off because even though I was desperate and I just wanted to make money and live a really happily ever after life with my wife, I still had a lot of common sense. And a lot of it didn't add up. And then I would say about 11 months in, dude, I started to really see things for what they were. And this is when things started to kind of, all right, I started to see things for what they really were here. These people are not your friends. They're only your friends if you can make them money. They don't care about you. They just wanted you to do what they told you to do. And I started to do a little bit more research and I read fine print. I remember I wish I still had that IBO pamphlet. I remember a lot of things that, like little catchphrases. I remember whenever somebody would say no, my buddy would always just say to him, stay broke. I remember, oh, you don't want to do it? Stay broke. Stay broke. How much money are you making? It's not about what I'm making now. It's about what I'm going to be making. I get that. This is why when I watch your videos, Mark, I'm like, yes, even 20 years ago, this is what they were telling you. Stay broke. Stay broke. You know what else? In the fine print of these IBO pamphlets, it said, this is back then, so maybe it's changed. The average IBO makes $1,400 a year. And I started to question my buddy about this stuff. I said, it says the average IBO makes $1,400 a year in that like 0.0001% reach diamond level. You know what he told me? You want to be average or do you want to be great? This is what he told me. You want to be average or do you want to be great? And I started to be like, yeah, this is kind of strange.
Wow, what a douchey thing to say. Stay broke, especially when these people.
Stay broke.
I mean, $1,400 a year, mind you, before expenses. I mean, not to mention the effort that you spend, the time you spend, like the unpaid labor of that, the opportunity cost of that. You know, they always condescend talking about like, you know, people in MLMs, I mean. They always say like, "Oh, we need people to flip the burgers and make the coffee or stay broke." And it's like, if you spent time flipping burgers and making coffee, that would actually be time where you're generating money. Like every second that you're on the clock, you're making money. That's what you're trading. That's what a job is. You know, you're trading your time for money in most cases. These people are like running around doing a bunch of labor that they're paying to do, spending money on gas. You know, you got to eat, you got to keep the lights on, you got to wear clothes, you got to invest hours into these seminars and trainings and meetings, and maybe you'll make some money, but most likely not. So it's amazing. Like, you know what? I'm gonna start saying "stay broke" to my friends about like anything. You know, like if my friend does, next time my friend isn't feeling up to going to the gym, I'm just gonna say "stay broke."
Hey, bro, stay weak, bro. Yeah, it's funny. They actually told me too. They're like, oh, it's good to show a loss on your taxes. It's good to show a loss because you're going to get more. You're gonna get, I'm like, that's not said. No business ever. You lose money in a business, you're going to go out of business. The whole point of owning a business is to make freaking money. Yes, I know you get a lot of tax write offs. You have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. I'm rich and famous like you. You know, Marco, YouTube is technically a business. So
Yeah.
you do have write offs. You do have electricity and your internet and all this other stuff. But you don't want to constantly show a loss year after year after year. They'll think something's wrong with that. So the other thing they told me is the same thing 10 to 15 hours a week. You can do this in 10 to 15 hours a week. And then when you're not pulling the numbers, well, you're not working hard enough. Well, what is it? I mean, you tell me 10 to 15 hours a week. I give you 20 hours a week. You're not working hard enough. You got to do this. You got to go to more of these. You got to hit more prospects. You got to cold prospect. No, I work a full time job. When am I going to find time to do this? You know, so things were getting interesting by the end of the year. This is when things really pick up. I mean, the first year I think was pretty dull as far as a lot of things go because it was just kind of status quo. But I'd say I renewed my thing after a year, my internet, my website, and I paid for the yearly fee, and you have to pay a monthly fee as well. But things started to get interesting after I was in for about a year with my upline Ruby, who I'll never forget that guy as long as I live because he's the biggest reason why I saw through the bullshit and said, not doing this anymore.
I find it so funny when people in MLMs talk about like, oh, but it's a tax write-off, bro. Like, don't worry, it'll show your taxes that you're at a loss and you'll get money back. They say this as though something being a tax write-off like makes it free, or that like or that like you've made money somehow. It's like those memes that's like girl math, where it's like, okay, girl math, if you return something to the store and get $40 back, how much did you make? $40. It's like, no, you didn't make anything. You just got back to zero, you know? Another thing I was gonna say, you saying about how which is it got me thinking like the whole, oh, you can do this in your spare time and make a little extra cash. I've heard this in every opening pitch for an MLM. You can do this on the side and make a little bit of money, and that's great, couple hundred extra bucks a month, you know, or you can really be a leader and go to the top and make a lot of money. And you find out that not only are both untrue, but the first option doesn't sound like you're biting off more than you can chew. It's like just a couple extra hours. Like, okay, I probably could spend a couple less hours a week watching TV and put it into this instead if it's going to be some extra cash. And then you're not making the extra cash. And then they act like you're the crazy one and be like, well, if you want to go far in this business, you got to go all in. You got to go. So it's like, it's always your fault, you know? Every time you or somebody tells me about their experience with their former upline, I think of this narcissist's prayer, because it's literally every MLM like guru and leader. That never happened, and if it did, it wasn't that bad, and if it was, it's not a big deal, and if it is, it wasn't my fault, and if it was, I didn't mean it, and if I did, you deserved it. There's always a way out for them. They're always going to find some way to flip it on you and downplay it or gaslight you, and bringing that back to you with this guy who got you in. He was in it the whole time you were in it, right? So when you decided to finally leave, I'm guessing it was him that you had the conversation with. So tell me about, or maybe it wasn't, but tell me about you finally deciding to be like, okay, I'm out.
So this is we'll go back to this. So I'm not getting the numbers. My wife, well, she wasn't my wife at the time, like my wife now. She's telling me, I was losing money, and we could barely pay our bills anyway at this point. And she's like, I don't trust these. She went to one of these meetings with me, and she's not in it, and she doesn't trust these people. She's from the outside. She's not seeing this. So she goes once. She's like, the speakers suck. That was my upline Ruby. He's boring. He sucks. And she's like, these people are weird. I just, again, very, very smart woman. She married me. I mean, she's very smart. She's got a master's degree. She's got a great job. She's very successful, very hardworking. I love her to death. I wouldn't be where I am without her, right? She's my rock. So I'll never forget. And next week I go and I tell somebody in there, like, my wife, where's your wife? I'm like, she's not really into this. She doesn't really like it. And I will never forget this as long as I live, because this fucking guy, who I don't know from Adam, tells me, my fiance that I've been with for, at this point, 3 years, we had just gotten engaged. He says to me, "Oh, if she can't support you, then you probably shouldn't be with her." I'll never, because I wanted to thunder punch him in the throat. It went through my head right there. Who the fuck are you? Who are you to tell me who I should be with? You're nobody. Who are you? How is that any of your business? So this really, now I'm enraged, right? Now I'm pissed. I sit through that. I don't say anything to anybody. And I just walk out. Like I walk out halfway through. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this shit. So I walked out. My buddy calls me the next day. What happened? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I told him. He's like, don't worry about him. And the thing is, my friend was always very cool to me. He wasn't pushy, but he never was pushy. He always tried to keep me there. He always tried to keep me in it because he knew I was kind of slipping away. And he's just like, don't worry about that guy. He's an ass, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, man, I don't know how much more I can do this, dude. I'm like, I'm losing money. My wife's got college debt. So this is when I get introduced kind of with one-on-one with my upline group. You got to talk to this guy. I'm just going to call him Steve. That wasn't his name, but, whoever knows. He's like, yeah, I heard you're having this and this and this. And he told me, I remember, college is a scam. Your wife is getting scammed. College is a scam. I hear this even today. College is a scam. That's a scam, he tells me. Again, I'm like, bro, who are you? Like, how can you tell somebody you don't know what the hell to do with their life? Again, I'm not 19 anymore. I'm 28 at this point, and I'm like, dude, I'm not listening to this shit. I'm done. You're not telling me this. So I keep telling my buddy. I'm just slipping farther and farther away. And this is when the thing you see on NBC Dateline, this is the conference, the function, whatever you want to call it, the retreat. This is the one they tried to get me to go to. I never knew what that was. That was the one that they tried to get me to go to. And it was like $500 or whatever the hell it was. It was a lot of money. I didn't have $500, Marco. I didn't have $500. I told my buddy, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to that. I don't have $500. And this doesn't include your hotel, your food. It doesn't include anything. I'm like, I can't do it. So he must have told this to my upline Ruby. He must have told this to Steve. Guy literally comes into my job where I'm working. At this point, I'm running a warehouse of welding and safety supplies. It's a very laid back, easy job. I don't get paid a lot of money, but it's not stressful. The dude literally walks in there, tries to get me to fork over like a credit card. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I don't have the money. And he says to me, he goes, well, I had like a Pepsi or whatever on my shipping table. He's like, that's your problem right there. It's like, we have all these goods and we have all these goods you be selling to people and getting the money for. You're not trying hard enough and you're not doing this. And why are you drinking Pepsi? You should be doing that. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy is batshit crazy. Dude, you're not my dad. Don't come in here and berate me. I'm a grown ass man. Who is this guy talking to me like I'm beneath him? I'm like, dude, I'm done. I'm out. I'm like, this guy's pissing me off. Don't worry about it. Nah, don't worry about it. Dude, you don't have to go to that thing. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, fine. I'm not going to. He's like, listen, there's one in Rochester, which isn't that far away from me. It might be 3.5 hours. He's like, we'll go there. It's $100. He says, I'll pay for your ticket. We'll drive up in the morning. We'll drive back at night. It's a one-day thing. I agree. I agree to do this. It's on a Saturday. My wife is actually out of town. I wake up Saturday morning and I get a bad feeling. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not. He said he's gonna pick me up at noon. It was like 12:15. He's not there. I'm like, good, maybe he forgot. Then the knock on the door. Like shit. I don't answer. Knock on the door. I don't answer. Knock on the door. I don't answer. Phone rings. I don't answer the phone. Knock on my back door. I don't answer. Knock on the back door. I don't answer. Knock on the side door. I don't answer. Phone call. Don't answer. I live in a duplex. There's a little section from one apartment you could open the door and go into the other apartment through another door. And I remember going, "Oh shit!" They could, because I was renting it to my sister, so they could go in, and she knew my friend. They could go in there. I'm like, "Shit, I gotta lock the door." Marco, they go in, they knock on the inside door. I hear the doorknob turning. I literally, dude, I literally go in the closet and I hide. I literally hide in there for 45 minutes until this shit stops and they finally leave. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, what a bunch of freaking psychos. What is going on? So he calls me, where were you? I'm like, dude, you never showed up. I waited there. I left at 12:10. I went down, my friend Rick. We shot basketball because you weren't there. Oh, I came after. I'm like, well, I didn't know. You know, obviously full of shit. I was lying. I did pay him back. I did give him his money back. Fine, don't worry about it. You know, he's like, well, whatever, don't worry about it. He's like, listen, man, I got a way we can make some money. They're having a big basketball. This was the day that I quit. This is probably June of 2004, somewhere in there. There was a big basketball tournament. And he's like, we'll go sell a bunch of excess energy drinks and we'll split it. Cool. I'm fine with that. It's a nice day and whatever. We just got to go by Steve's house and get the stuff. Go there. He's got a nice house. His wife answers the door. His wife was always very nice. She was very nice. She was the one that always took the tickets to the door. She told me all the time, you look really good in a suit. She was nice. She was just a nice lady. At least she was nice to me. And maybe it was an act. Maybe it wasn't. She seemed genuinely nice. I go into, she's like, oh, hey, boys, the stuff's in the garage. When you talk about inventory loading, this guy's garage was a Quixtar Amway warehouse. Just tons of shit everywhere. I'm like, that's interesting. I say to my buddy, where's Steve anyway? It's Saturday. Where is he? Oh, he's working. Working? I thought he made 100,000 a year. I was like, I thought he made over 100,000 a year. Why is he working? It's, you know, oh, he has 3 daughters. They're all in college and he pays for the tuition. That was the end for me. I said, no, I said, you're going to tell me my wife goes to college. It's a scam. You're working on a Saturday. You're doing Quixtar. You're working on a Saturday to pay for your daughter, 3 daughters' tuition to college. And
Wow.
my wife's getting scammed. Okay. I didn't say anything. I just knew that was the last day. We went to the basketball tournament and that was it. I didn't have a conversation with anybody. I just let my shit run out. That was it. I didn't renew. I stopped buying shit. That was it. I had nothing. He called me, you know, every day, whatever, not every day, probably every other day. What's going on? I'm like, dude, I'm done. So he didn't really argue. He didn't say much of anything. He's like, and he's just like, I understand. That was all he said to me. He's like, I understand. That was the end of it. I'm like, to me, it just showed how hypocritical and full of shit these people were. They're fake as fuck. It was just a lot of fishy crap, man. And I'm like, just like I said, when everything piled up and I just started looking back at everything, and you know, I do remember listening to a lot of tapes. I remember my buddy would always say, whenever you're feeling down, just listen to a tape. I liked Dave Severin. This was the guy that I listened to. Dave Severin, and the other one they told me to listen to all the time, Charlie D'Urso. You got to listen to Charlie D'Urso, but you're an Italian New Yorker. Charlie's from New York. He's an Italian guy. He makes all this money. He's a double dime, whatever the hell he was. That's your guy. That's the guy you have to emulate. Yeah, that's what I listened to, and I didn't buy any of that shit. Every time we would go somewhere, me and my buddy would always have one of those tapes in the car. Always had to listen to somebody talking about something. It just hurt my head after a while, bro. It was, luckily for me, I've watched you do these multi-level miseries, and I love them. and I see people that were in 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I got lucky that I was only in for a year and a half and maybe lost 8 grand, because I saw through it pretty quick. And like I said, that day when I found out that guy was working on a Saturday to pay for his three daughters' tuition after he told my wife, that she's getting scammed. I'm like, this is just, these guys just say anything. They don't mean any of it. And they're going to tell you one thing and they're going to do another.
And this was a secret job he had. Like it wasn't Amway. It was another job that he wasn't telling anybody
Correct.
about.
Correct. Yeah. I didn't know he had a job. That's why I was like, where is he? It was just weird that he wasn't home on a Saturday. It was like noon on a Saturday. Dude's supposedly living the life. I always wondered if he even made $100,000. Like, I don't know. Like, it depends on what kind of ruby you are, emerald. Like, there's no guarantee you're making $100,000 at a ruby level. I don't know. I do know I've searched like the diamond registry for I've never seen that guy's name there. So maybe he never made it. Maybe he passed away. I don't know. I mean, we're talking a long time ago.
I have to imagine that he was actually struggling. I mean, he's coming to your job to try to beg you to pay $500 and berating you about drinking Pepsi and that your wife is being scammed, literally saying anything. Meanwhile, he's working his own job to try to put his daughters through college. It's like, what an upside down world. Like,
Right.
by the way, when Steve came to your work to try to convince you to come to the event and spend the 500, his excuses that he gave you, his reasons obviously didn't work. He should have just used the magic words, stay broke, then you would have gone.
Yeah, it's stay broke. Definitely stay broke. I was broke for a while. But you know what? You crawl your way out. You learn. I tell people this all the time because I'm old now. And like I said, I'm a rich and famous YouTuber like you. But yeah, I tell people all the time, younger guy, I'm like, listen, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make wrong choices. It's part of life. You have to learn from them, but there's no substitute from life experiences. It was a lousy experience for me without question, but I'm glad I had it because it did kind of build character for me. It made me see things in a different light. This is why I fell in love with your channel when I first saw it and you did the WFG video, because it brought back a lot of those memories. And I just thought to myself, God, if I would have just had Always Mark, which didn't exist back then, but I'm like, if I could have just had somebody kind of say, look at it from this perspective, I probably wouldn't have even ever joined it. You know what I mean? Like, I would have never joined because I would have looked and been able to research all the stuff. But back then, you just couldn't find it. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure, I mean, don't quote me on this because I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure Amway got in trouble for Google bombing, which they pushed all positive reviews at the top of the Google search back in the early 2000s. I could be wrong about that, but I thought I heard that. The other thing I'll say, when I watched the Dateline NBC and I saw what that was, I honestly, dude, I was scared. I'm like, I am so glad I didn't hop on a bus and go to North Carolina and stay in a hotel room with 6 other freaking people and stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I can only imagine how awful that is. For what? To listen to people tell you how rich they are on stage and you don't even really know if they're telling the truth or not. I mean, I was like, I'm so glad I didn't do that. And the guy, Fredericks, that literally says I'm making 250,000. That's exactly what was pitched to me. Was he didn't say an exact number, but I make 6 figures. I work 10 to 15 hours a week, pretty much. And that, I mean, I'm like, wow. I was like, I'm so glad I did not go to that. That would have been the worst experience of my life. I would have hated that. If I didn't quit before any of this stuff, if I went to that would have been it right there. No question. I'd been like, no way, not doing this. That was stultish.
Was the event in the Dateline NBC the actual one that they were trying to get you to go to?
That's the one they wanted me to go to. Spring Leadership 2004. Yes.
Wow.
That was the event that they wanted me to go to. That was the event. So, like I said, when I saw that play out on TV, I'm like, so glad. Somebody, I talked about a sign from like the gods when I pitched the plan. I'm like, somebody was looking out for me.
Yeah.
I said, man, you pick your way back up. You learn. You get out of debt. You work hard. You continue to work hard. You never stop. You grind it out. You get promoted. You get better paying jobs. You then find other streams of income. I mean, listen, I have a good YouTube channel. It's popular. I still work a full-time job on top of this. I mean, because if I want to earn money, I feel like nobody's going to hand it to you. There is no such thing as a get rich quick scheme. If you want to really legitimately earn a silver play button or better, you can't just put up a video every week and think that that's going to happen. Like Marco does, you have to put in a lot of research. Like I don't know how much time and effort. I can only imagine how much time and effort it takes to get all those interviews and all those clips and put it all together and edit it and this and that. It's insane, but it pays off because you can see you do such a good job. You earn every bit of that. That's hard work. They don't just give silver play buttons away. So anything you do, if you go to the gym, you can't just go in there once a week or once a month and go through the motions and eat like shit and think you're going to look like this at 50 years old. Let's go, Marco. It ain't going to happen, right? Anything you do, if you want to succeed, you have to work at it. However, Glenn had the best thing I've ever heard when it comes to MLM. The MLM is like a lottery. Very few people make it. You can hit the lottery. I mean, anybody can do it. Anybody, but the odds of it are not really good. You're never going to make a living playing the lottery every day of your life, hoping that you hit once. You're going to lose money. And most likely, you're never going to hit the lottery. That was one of the best analogies I've ever heard when it came to MLM, because that's really what it is. You have to know the right people. You have to be able to run into the right person that is in the situation you're in. Because you can be the best salesman ever, but if the person's not interested, no matter what you're saying, it's the wrong person. How many people do you have to get? And then you have to hold them there, and you have to keep them there, and they have to hit a certain amount of people. It's impossible. That's why the odds are what they are.
Yeah, I like what Douglas Brooks said about MLM in our interview. He said it's like a lottery, but the winners have already been picked. It's like buying a ticket for a lottery where the winning ticket's already been sold, you know?
It's impossible. You're not going to do it. And social media, man, anybody can flex on social media. I say it all the time, dude. Rich and successful people don't feel the need to tell you they're rich and successful. Anybody can make anything they want to out of social media. I could go to an Airbnb for a week and I could take 1,000 pictures, and I could rent a Ferrari, and I could take 1,000 pictures. I could take a picture here, picture here, picture here. You know, I can rent anything I want and take thousands of pictures of it and post something every week. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Meanwhile, you did that all in one day, but you're dragging it out like, don't believe anything you see on social media, people. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. For real. Don't believe that stuff. Because 95% of it's fake.
But yeah, you're totally right. That was the whole point of that Bali video that I did, is I filmed all that in one day. It was an Airbnb that me and my friend rented in Indonesia, mind you, where your American dollar or Canadian dollar stretches a lot farther, and it's split between two people. It's amazing how easy it is to fake it. I wanted to do a video like that for a long time, where I'm showing, like, I'm literally going to do the thing that everybody else is doing to show you how literally effortless and stupid it is.
I mean, it's true. You really can. But, you know, there's a lot of real talk in that video too, that your stream of wealth is different in different countries. And you talk about, like, I could never uproot myself to a different country because my life is, and I live in one of the most expensive places in the United States because I live in New York. It is expensive here. But yeah, I mean, like I said, bro, I'm a huge fan. No question about it. I love your work. And like I said, the first time I saw it, it just brought back those memories. And when I saw you did these, we've been planning this for a long time, this multi-level misery thing, because I'm like, I have to talk to you about this, because everything you say about the business suit and the fake it till you make it. And I'm like, I witnessed all of this stuff firsthand about how they lie and they deceive, and they really don't care about your well-being. They just want that $500. They don't give a shit how you pay for it. They don't care if it puts you farther in debt. They got theirs. They don't care what and once you're gone, they don't care about you. Those people never bothered me again. They never called to say, "Hey, how you doing?" They never. So, you know, who the hell needs them people? They're fake.
Yeah.
They're fake. I feel bad for a lot of them. People are like, "Oh, you got to be really stupid to get involved." You don't have to be stupid. A lot of times you're just desperate, and you're innocent going into it. You really just want the best. And you saw in that Dateline NBC, there's a woman that's a doctor that was in it. Can't be stupid and be a doctor. You know, situations, that's usually what they do. You mention it, they get you at your lowest point. I was gotten at my lowest point. Then I sunk even lower when I got into that for 18 months. And luckily, I got out of it.
Well, I really appreciate the support and the nice things you said about me and my channel. It's crazy to me to think that, like, you know, you mentioned you're almost 50. I'm not even 30. You know, I'm 28. I'll be 29 soon. To think that, like, this was going on, you said you got out in 2004, right? So I was literally
Yeah.
like 8 years old. You know, to think that I lived my whole life, was a child, didn't know what an MLM was, didn't know about Amway until years and years later, grew up, had an experience where a friend got into an MLM, and then only when I was literally like already an adult did I start diving into this world. And to now be almost 30 and still hearing stories of people like, I don't know, man. I know that today somebody left their MLM and maybe I'll hear from them in the future, but I also know that there are people today who signed up. And so there's more work to be done. It's just I wish there something could have been done sooner, but I think the information availability that was brought on by the internet is probably the biggest key, because if you want to control like the propaganda that's circulating around your cult or scam or whatever it is, you have to control that. And if you're the only source of information about you, well, it's hard to dispute.
Right.
So this will in my lifetime come to an end. That's my mission anyway. That's my goal. But I hope one day when I have kids, they don't grow up and like graduate high school and tell me, "Dad, my friend just told me about this amazing opportunity. It's called Amway." You know, I can't.
Like you say all the time, it is literally set up for you to fail, and the people on top succeed from your failures.
Yeah. Yeah, to even call it a failure is sort of to misunderstand it, because the system is designed for you to fail. So when you fail, it's actually succeeding exactly as it was designed to. So the failure rate of any MLM of the 99% of people is actually better described as the success rate of the 1%. The plan is working perfectly.
One thing you said, I forgot which one of them. I don't know if it was ACN, I don't know if it was WFG. You could not have put this any. If you're talking about a pyramid scheme and they say, "Oh, everything's a pyramid scheme. Look, you're going to make more money than your boss." When you said, "Look at the flow of money," does it go from the top to the bottom, in like it does in a business, or does it go from the bottom to the top like it does in a pyramid scheme? And that I'm like, that is bars, bro, because it's fact. All the money from the poor people are going to the top. The people from the top ain't giving you any money. You're not earning any money from them people. They're earning all their money from you. So
Yes.
I was like, that's poetic. It's the truth.
I call this double contradictory defense they use Schrodinger's business opportunity, where on one hand they'll say, we're not a pyramid scheme because pyramid schemes are illegal. And at the same time, they'll say, yeah, but everything is a pyramid scheme. So which is it? Are you not a pyramid scheme because they're illegal? Or are you a pyramid scheme and that's okay because everything is? Either one of those that you actually like deconstruct, you realize both of them are nonsense, but they're both nonsense contradicting the other. So yeah, it's truly a maze, a mental maze to like get through, because so much of the stuff that they say without really thinking about it deeper sounds sensible. It makes sense. There's not like an immediate thing you can say to like clap back the way they do, you know, stay broke. What do you say to stay broke? You
Stay
know?
broke. I never forget that. When they say no, just say stay broke. What do I say when they ask what I'm making? Don't just say it's not what I'm making now. It's what I'm going to be making. It's what I'm going to be making.
To add on what you said about like how you've watched these videos and you've seen people who have been in like 10 years or more and it's been like a negative effect on their life, you're definitely right that it certainly could have been worse in your case. And it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like because you weren't so thrilled about the recruiting side of it, or because nobody really wanted to join, you didn't have any like personal relationships that were negatively impacted. Like people weren't cutting you off because you were the annoying Amway guy, right?
No, that was the thing. Like I felt like they were annoyed when I was showing them the. I have a pretty good read of people, and you could feel they were uncomfortable, and because of that, I was uncomfortable. Like, you know what I mean? Because they're like, "This is some bullshit." Like I don't know how I didn't know about this stuff, but they're like, "This is some BS pyramid. This is Amway. I'm not doing Amway." So yeah, I never really, I didn't push it. I didn't tell them to buy stuff. But I didn't want to alienate the people closest to me. So it was a little easier for me to step back. I didn't lose anything from it. I mean, that's what they try to do. That's why I say if your wife wasn't on board, you need to cut her out. they don't. That's the whole thing. They try to isolate you because then they have you, and then you feel like that's all you have because everybody else has left you, and you're like, well, where do I go now? So you kind of feel like you're trapped. And it never happened to me because I just saw through it, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going for this shit. Like like I said, the first time I walked into that, it was weird to me. I never forgot that. This is 22 years ago, but I can vividly remember all these kids with these ill-fitting suits telling me how this is the greatest decision I've ever made in my life. We're going to be rich. We're going to make a lot of money. Again, they weren't hanging out with one another. They came from all different parts of the room and said the same programmed stuff. It was just weird.
It's probably good that guy who said the thing about, well, you shouldn't be with your wife, it's probably a good thing that he said that when he did, because I'll tell you from my experience talking to people, if he had said that at a later stage, when you had spent more money, when you had isolated more people, you just might have done that, because the more isolated you make somebody, isolated from their money, isolated from their friends, isolated from their loved ones, the more impressionable they become and the more suggestible they become. So it's good that you weren't so deep into this sunk cost fallacy that you thought, yeah, you know what? Maybe I do just need to go one level deeper, and I do need to cut off that one extra person because maybe then it'll blow up. He definitely shot himself in the foot by playing that card as soon as he did, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was that. Like I said, that was the beginning of that. That's when I started to see. Like I said, the first year it was just kind of status quo. Nothing really happened. Show the plan. You buy the products. You buy the vitamins. You buy the crappy detergent. You buy everything from them, and you know the plan, and you sell the energy drink. And that was really what it was. But they started to push a little bit harder a year in. I didn't think I was very serious about it. And like I said, that's when their story, their house of cards began to fall for me. Luckily for me, like I said, I wasn't 19. If this happened when I was 19, I could have got fallen deeper. But I think because I was a little bit more grown, I kind of understood life a little bit better than kids that are right out of high school and never really had a job and didn't really have to live on their own yet, like I did. So I just have to go out and grind, man. I wasn't going to. I'm like, this isn't a get rich quick thing. I'm not going to get rich doing this. That's the way I looked at it. And I'm like, it's just, this is becoming more of a nuisance. And then as people started to press me, just say stupid things, and their stories started to fall apart, and you could see that they were lying. They're telling you one thing, talking out of both sides of their mouth. Like, no, I'm done with this.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing this with me, man. You're an excellent storyteller, and you've got that passionate, like, Italian New York guy, which is so entertaining to listen to. And if you guys want to listen to more of that, Baddog, your channel, Baddog Sports. If you're into sports and you want to see this man get passionate on a regular basis, subscribe to his channel, Baddog Sports. And appreciate it, man. Is there anything else you want to share or add? Or
hey, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's always good to chop it up with you. Like I said, man, I'm a fan, Marco. I don't usually join people's Patreons, but I am a proud Patreon member of the Always Marco channel because, like I said, take my money, Marco. Take my money, Franklin.
Because I scammed you, right? Because
yeah, you're a scammer. You're only in this for money. Nah, man, I love your work. Like I said, I think you have a gift. Yeah, like I said, you're very well versed. You're very well spoken. You do a lot of research. It shows, and your end product's great. So just keep doing what you're doing, brother. And when you get 1 million subscribers and you get a gold button, hopefully the shit's normal size.
they made the gold button the size of what the silver used to be, and now the silver is smaller. So my gold will be the same size as your silver when it happens. Okay, well, I'm gonna make a plan to come out to New York sometime this year, and we'll grab a New York slice, maybe get a workout in.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna do the the creatine MLM.
Protein powder, creatine. We got all your supplements. Trust us.
Right.
Yeah. All right, bro.
All right, awesome, man. Thanks, Marco.
Thank you, bro.
Peace out, brother. See you good. Later.